You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9. Sorry if that seems repetitive. It's just because we keep finding the same stuff in each and every alternate universe we visit. It's Monday, it's 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern, unless, of course, you're watching last week's show and who knows what time we're coming on. But in the end, you're there and we're here, and that can only mean it's Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson, possibly teeny tiny. This will only make sense if you're watching this. Tonight, Star Trek Lower Deck continues with its season, episode 9, Fissure Quest. The Fissures are back. So click that Zoom link or give us a call at the ever faithful 669-900-6833. Earl is holding it down, solving all of our problems in the Earl Green Room, and he's waiting for you to call and join us. Again, just click that Zoom link, give us.
Oh no. All right. It seems like Ashley has been sucked into that fissure, into that spatial rift, her own self. So in the meantime, I will reiterate what Ashley was saying, which is click on the Zoom link, give us a call, do the thing, talk to Earl, because Earl would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you because Ashley may or may not be here to be my foil. So join us, click the link, dial the number, and we will talk about Fissure Quest. Wait, I heard an Ashley. There she is. You're back. You made it through the rift.
We're doing really good. I'm here to illustrate the powers of the fissure today. So call and see if you're going to get me or not.
Yes. Who knows which reality you will land in? It is either reality with Ashley or not. Those are the only two realities. Yeah. So, all right. Well, in the meantime, as you are doing the thing to give us a call, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. And thank you, by the way, everyone who has made the leap with us from Facebook live streaming over to YouTube. That link is still in Facebook, but the live chat will be here on YouTube forevermore. So jumping the gun here, there's Jim right away. Let's see here. Greetings, Trek fans from somewhere in the multiverse. Glad to see you there. Let's see here. Sentai Ranger Donnie says, hello, everyone. Hope your weekend was well, despite the passing of David Weatherly, whom I loved as Spencer in Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. All right. Good to hear from you, Sentai Ranger Danny. We got Paul Harvest saying hello. We got Spencer. We got Spencer, actually here for one of these. Yes, you are. Glad to have you here. We got, let's see here, Brandon. We got, oh, there he is. There he is, BC. Brian just dropping in, just dropping the Alan Moraine. He did it. He did it. He did it. We got David. David says, hello, all. Barely made it. Fissure almost closed without me. Well, look at what happened to Ashley. I mean, it happens to the best of us. John Cooley says he is from...
It does. It's an honor, frankly.
John Cooley says he is from the universe where the command uniforms are green. Ooh, that's an alternate universe for sure. We got Paul Wright, so we got double Pauls. We got Cherie. We got Dave Taylor, so we got double Daves as well. We got Carlos. So many people saying hi in the chat, so you can join them there. You can join us here on the live show. Give us a call. Let us know what you thought. Ashley, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I did have to text you as soon as I watched it and said, this is nuts, capital N-U-T-S, nuts. So I can't wait for our conversation. And before we get around to our recap and our chat with all of you, I would love to tell you what's coming up on Roddenberry Podcasts this week. So this week on Mission Log, don't miss the discussion about Star Trek Voyager riddles. And I have a special guest host with me this week. It's Nick Fendley from Trek Central, and she's calling in all the way from Ireland to discuss some Voyager with me. So I can't wait for you all to hear that. Genealogy, today's episode. Well, we got the whole band back together. Norman drops by to join Ashley and Earl for a continued discussion about Gene Roddenberry's contributions to Have Gun Will Travel. There is a lot to say about 5 more of Paladin's adventures. And by the way, I was just talking today with Earl and Mr. Eugene Roddenberry and Ashley. We're all discussing Have Gun Will Travel, as well as some upcoming stuff happening on genealogy. And it was really cool because, they talked about how much Have Gun Gene wrote and how much he really shaped the character of Paladin. And we talk a little bit about that DNA of that maybe, working its way into some of Gene's better known works, like, I don't know, a little show called Star Trek. So stick around for that. Now, waiting for Ashley to come back. She has gotten taken in by the rift again, but do not miss Prodigy. Catch up because we have finished covering the entirety of season 2, and we welcome Dan and Kevin Hageman on with Shar and Marina to talk about their journey bringing Prodigy to life. And of course, keep following because there is more Prodigy to come on Mission Log. We haven't totally closed the book on that series. And of course, the Trek Files is on hiatus at the moment, but there is so much to catch up on, and there will be more new Trek Files coming in the new year, so stick around for that. Ashley, you're back from another journey through the rift. Glad to see you here. And if you've got it in front of you, yes.
I've been making out with people. I've been not answering texts.
That's what you do. That's what Alt Ashley does. So, Alt Ashley, if you can, tell everybody where to find us at podcast at Roddenberry and YouTube. And Ashley. Oh, yes. We have you there. Do we? Oh, no. Carlos says, what Ashley are we getting next? Well, I hope it's any Ashley, but it's always a surprise depending on where from the rift she has either disappeared to or come from. David says there are infinite universes. Ashley is attempting to visit all of them. Yes, you are correct. All right, well, I will share what Ashley would normally share at this time, which is to encourage all of you to follow all of our shows at podcast.roddenberry.com and make sure you like and subscribe to all of our content on youtube.com/Roddenberry Entertainment, very much like this video that you are watching right now. Well, Ashley still has a bit of a trip to make through the rift. While we are waiting for that journey to commence or finish or whatever, I'm going to recap Fissure Quest with all of you. Here we go. The Cerritos crew are kicking back at the bar, speculating about the fate of William Boimler. You remember Brad's transporter clone. Spoiler, he is alive and thriving as Captain William Boimler of the USS Anaximander, that is a great word, chasing down whoever's been messing with the multiverse by creating those dimensional fissures. You remember those two from earlier in the season, of course. The Anaximander is a multiverse dream team. You've got a T'Pol, you got a Curzon Dax, and you've even got Surgeon Garrick and his EMH husband, Bashir. Aw. The rest of the crew, it's just Harry Kims all the way down, and they are thrilled to rescue yet another Harry Kim in an escape pod, this one with 2 pips. 2 pips, y'all! Boimler is a little jaded by all the dimensional drama, but when they rescue a mariner from the rift, his focus sharpens. This mariner is a sharp engineer without much appetite for danger or chaos, and she just might have a lead about how to chase down the person who's been ripping open holes into alternate realities. It's all tachyons and superpositions and, well, yeah, anyway, that gives Boimler quite an idea. The Anaximander sets a trap for the Riftmaker, and when a mysterious old ring ship appears, the chase leads to a crash landing on a swampy bog planet. Boimler and crew are captured by Quapians, definitely not as cute as they look, and thrown in jail where they meet the other ship's crew, humans and Vulcans in familiar blue jumpsuits, led by Lily Sloan? Yeah, the same Lily from First Contact, but in this reality, she helped invent a quantum reality drive with Zephyr Cochrane. Turns out her ship, the Beagle, has been hopping dimensions for peaceful exploration, unaware that closing each rift also creates a dangerous secondary one, so the intense hunt for a nefarious villain is just a misunderstanding, science, and exploration with unintended consequences. Back on the Anaximander, Garrick, definitely not just a simple surgeon, goes into combat mode and helps everyone escape their Quapian jail by using Curzon's trusty bat'leth. On the way, Quapians surround the crew, but Curzon heroically throws himself into the melee to create a distraction, ultimately being mortally wounded and leaving Dax's memories with T'Pol. The teams repair the Beagle, but just as Boimler and Lily get to know each other through the spirit of exploration, the ship takes off, stolen by Two Pips Lieutenant Kim. Two Pips Kim is, well, he's been dealing with some stuff, and he's hoping to rank up by leading his Harry Kim brothers to glory. Unfortunately, the unready Beagle is now a ticking multiverse time bomb, and Two Pips Kim ignores Lily's warnings as he tears through another rift. This Alt Mariner finds her inner adventurer and proposes a risky engineering gravity jump to catch up. Back on the Beagle, the other Kims turn on Two Pips, who beams them away back to the Anaximander before the Beagle explodes. R.I.P. Two Pips Kim, but the damage is done and the rift starts growing, threatening every reality. To save the multiverse, Lily suggests redirecting the damage to a single reality using a soliton burst. But into which reality? Captain William Boimler steps up with a bold plan: sacrifice his own dimension, trusting his friends on the Cerritos will find a way to fix it. He sends a message to Bradward Boimler explaining the stakes, and back on Cerritos, Boimler reads it and reacts in the collected manner we would expect. Holy redacted, we are all going to die. The end.
Woo!
You know what I'm missing? I'm missing the Alan redacted sign. That's what I needed. But we all know they bleep it out in the show. So much stuff. So many good callers lined up too. So if you have the opportunity to join us, you know what to do. Click the thing. Give us a call. But Ashley, before we get to our first caller, oh my gosh. So
Am I going to be allowed to speak this time?
This reality, whatever reality this Ashley came from to join our reality.
What did I do to deserve this?
We want to hear what you have to say. I want to get your remarks right up front because, I don't want to lose you.
Right. Folks, first thing, John texted me and I simply did not answer because I knew that any discussion would circumvent what we're going to do here this evening. And this is so much more important. Two, I've never been in the green room before during a show. What an absolute delight it is in there. A complete
nuts. Right? Just nuts. So
if you've never called and you want to call for Lower Decks, like tonight or next week, friends, it's your time. But
yeah.
The only important thing that happens in this episode is the canonization of Garashir and the kissing, the kiss that I have been waiting so long for. It did not come from my beloved Tendi and Rutherford, but an all-time great Trek couple. Fantastic performances. All the rest of it all the rest of it was absolute gravy. What a lovely time for me personally.
I knew you would be so happy with that. I am glad that you were not disappointed. I mean, because look, in any alternate universes, the multiverses that exist in the Star Trek universe, I love that those two found each other and have committed. It's beautiful.
They deserve each other. It is beautiful. It's so beautiful.
A lot of great comments in the chat here as well, but I do know that we have Chris standing by. Our own Jessica Lynn Verdi says, hey, any newbies in the chat, drop in a hi. Please do. And hey, if you're a first-time caller, we would love to hear from you as well. But let's welcome an old friend to the show. It's Chris with his take on Episode 9, Fissure Quest. Chris, what's up?
Hello, good to see you guys. Glad Ashley has recovered from the void. That's very good. Yes, this is, as you guys have been saying, wonderful stuff. Wonderful to get everyone under the sun back and have a thing.
God.
I'm actually going to jump to the end of the episode because that's what I think is really interesting.
Yes.
Is that I think Lower Decks does this really well, and this episode in particular shows it, is they're really good about earning the moment. Like, as a person who was watching a show whose finale is next week, that the Danger Wave is going to end up in the Prime Universe. It's gonna. That's just the way it's gonna be. But they do a really good job of like within the show being like, no, this is why it should, right? Boimler has this whole speech about it's got to be here, not just because I'm also there, but because we're all here. The core four are there together. And like, I honestly just love that speech. It is perhaps one of the favorite things that they've written. It is just so beautiful. But yeah, just the way that they earn that thing that you know has to happen sort of in a meta production sense, but they make it feel natural and like, oh, of course that's the choice. That's always been the choice. So yes, I commend them for that.
It's so well said, man. I mean, we're here at our penultimate episode, but it's so good to see in this episode. I have no idea what's coming next, but it's so good to see in this episode to really stick the landing about the moral meaning message and about the whole theme that goes through the best of Trek, which is this found family and the trust that they have in each other. It just, how could it not give you the feels? And of course, punctuated at the very end by screaming. And as Mike Richards says, is it just Boimler like running into walls at the end? So I love it when a show like this can nail the comedy, but also nail the message.
And a real clear illustration of these moments where Lower Decks is just a great Star Trek show. Like, yes, there's Easter eggs. And yes, 12-year-old Ashley is like, my ship, she's happening. She's a good ship. But
right.
I think Chris really points out, like, this is a top tier speech. This is a speech that I need people on YouTube and at STLV to be performing with all seriousness for the next decade at least.
Yeah. Yep. Perfectly said. Chris, we've got a packed house tonight. So any other comment before we move along?
I would just say there's lots of good jokes in this week. One of my favorites is just because it's just so like, that's good. They beam 2-Pip Kim on and they're doing the whole exposition about the universes. And he goes, there's more than 2 dimensions?
Yes.
Like, that gets me every time. I'm like, that's so good. And Garrett's delivery is just like, what?
Well, I love that line. I had to write that down, but then the follow-up to that line, I think I liked even better, which is Captain Boimler saying, that's all the multiverse is, just lazy derivative remixes. I just thought, preach on, Boimler. Yes. Nicely said, Chris. Great to see you as always, and we will jump over to our next caller and see you next week, man. Take care.
Guys.
All right, take care. We've got Brandon. Brandon, what is up? Oh, you're right there on the bridge of the Anaximander.
Yeah, just taking a moment out of all the crazy stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Well, you're in a prime position there between T'Pol and Curzon Dax. So
absolutely.
Really, really nice.
All those surprised faces back there are actually because they're shocked that I'm taking this time to call in with all the stuff that we actually have to do right now. And that I'm out of uniform.
Yeah.
The rank, of course, being
questionable.
What is on your mind tonight about Fissure Quest, my man?
So there were 2 things that I thought of. One was quick and funny, and I thought of it just after I watched the episode. And that was that I remembered a couple episodes ago, Cherie saying that she wanted to see those cameos. I'm really looking forward to some cameos. And after watching this episode, I just imagined Mike McMahon at a keyboard, like wild-eyed, being like, you want cameos? I'll give you cameos. I'll give you all the cameos. With like lightning striking in the background and things like that.
Right.
I know the timeline doesn't add up, but I just have to imagine that was how this came to be. And I loved them. I loved the speeches. I loved the character development for these cameos, these characters that we will never probably see again, these versions of them, but they were great. But what I really love, because I don't want to take up too many people's time here, or any time other than my own, actually, but I really loved Lily Sloan's speech, and I love the revelation and the message that what we don't understand and what isn't what we would do isn't necessarily evil, and that exploration is gaining better understanding, not just going new places. Lily's exploring the reaches of human potential, while Boimler explores the reaches of space, and both are limitless. And there's a place for both. There's a beauty in both, and they're intertwined because there's a point in each past which you cannot progress without exploring the other. Humanity will never explore the stars without exploring its own potential. And there's a point at which you can't stay in one place and actually discover all of your own potential. And I thought that was really beautiful to think about for humanity. And also, we can kind of point that back to Star Trek as a concept, too, which says, hey, we can explore both of these at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's great. We don't have to choose one over the other.
That was one of my favorite kind of meta moments of the episode, was it kind of spelling out to the audience. Like, I always refer to Star Trek Prodigy, All the World's a Stage, because to me, that episode really spoke to me about Star Trek kind of asserting its values and speaking to an audience, who gets it, but we need to be reminded sometimes. This episode did a very similar thing to me, which was it said to the, aliens are cool and everything, but this is all about exploring humanity. And the exploration in the episode is that. Star Trek is that too. And I loved hearing those words coming out of those actors' mouths. Alfre Woodard, bravo. Great moments in this.
I also want to just tack on, especially because Brandon shows such a good background, that it was so amazing to have Jolene Blalock back, who we know has not come back for every Star Trek thing possible. And I think that only speaks to how wonderful this show and the people who make this show are, that she came back and reprised the role of T'Pol for us in this episode, which is something that I never thought I would get. And I'm a huge T'Pol fan.
Hear, hear. Yeah. Super cool. It kind of makes me wonder, just from a production timeline, because I don't know exactly when this episode was produced or developed and when they found out that season 5 was going to be the end. Was this really a moment to say, like, okay, as you described, Brandon, like, just put in every character, every reference, let's do it. Let's go for it now.
I did wonder about that. I mean, it almost felt like you could imagine them actually being like, oh, okay, well, it's ending. Spend all the money.
Yeah.
Get all the guest stars.
Right.
Honestly, I hope they were like, everyone we haven't gotten, we're getting now.
Yes. All right, Brandon, take care. We will see you again,
Thanks,
I
guys.
hope. All right, take it easy. Before we go to our next, just some great comments that I want to point out here too. Dave Taylor says, board Captain Boimler reminded me a lot of Pike in the OG pilot in the cage. I like that reference because I always like how the cage just kind of starts in the middle and Pike's kind of bored and questioning his choices. And so
there's a lot of drinking in the cage as well.
There is.
Well,
sometimes a man will tell his bartender things he won't tell his doctor. That's what we learned from Star Trek.
Sometimes they're
right?
the same person as they are in the pilot.
Exactly. And Kerwin saying, James Kerwin, love the fact that Boimler lampshades the whole multiverse thing. Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. Let us talk to our next caller, Paul Harveth. How's it going, Paul?
Can't just be me.
No.
Guess who else is here? Scott's
we got
here
Scott
too.
Paul. Bravo.
Scott.
Welcome, Scott.
I'm going to let Scott start off. He's got a few comments about the show. Go ahead,
Absolutely.
my friend. He's working his mute button, and now he's pushing. Here we go.
I have some thoughts. This episode was rather interesting. I found parts that were, wow. It must be the first time that we see a multi-universe crew. I found fascinating. I always thought the universe had out for Harry Kim, but not across the multi-universe. And finally, I have to say that the marriage between Garrick and hologram Dr. Bashir caught me by surprise. And I'm still processing.
Bravo, Scott. Oh, so much to chew on there. Well, you're speaking Ashley's language right there with the marriage.
God knows what's up.
They were wonderful. And I love making Harry Kim the joke, but also not making him a joke. You know, I thought they threaded that nicely. And kudos to Garrett for playing multiple Harry Kims. That
it just shows
great.
his range. And again, I mean, we all know that Harry Kim is a bit wasted potential, but like that Garrett maybe was a little bit wasted potential as well, because such a great performance. But Scott also has such a good observation, which I hadn't considered. This is the first multi-universe crew, because we've seen crews from other universes, but never amalgamated like this. And maybe it's something that you can only pull off in a comedy animated show, but this is the first time that's happened, and that's really neat.
I think so. Well, and here's the thing. Every time we've gone to an alternate universe in live action Trek, it's always been ponderously, deadly serious. And it's always
the mirror universe.
Yeah, and it's always that one mirror universe, and it's always the bad guys. Why not have others that are just kind of familiar faces and they're just doing their thing? That's what how I love how they treated Lily. It's just like, she got to go do her thing. Like, that's great, you know? And Harry, well, I kind of respect the fact that these other Harrys, like, they weren't too down on the idea that they didn't get promoted. They're just like, we had a lot going on. We had Borg, and we're trying to get home, and we're organ harvesting. Like, it didn't really occur to me, you know? So that's fine. I think that was all great. Paul, anything you want to add?
Oh, there's so much I could say, but I'm going to limit to a couple.
Okay.
The first one is sort of a scientific thing, is that we are pretty much sure that time is different in each of the different universes. So as far as time travel, we've heard on our After Dark on Thursdays that it's pretty hard to go backwards in time based on second law of thermodynamics. Like, imagine if you had to unbreak every egg that you ever, that's what time backwards would be, right? But if time is going slower in some of these bubble universes, and you can hop in, or if it's going faster, so you can actually see the future in one timeline and backwards in another. So maybe it is possible, just not within your core universe. So but there's that piece of this.
Is it possible that Tendi and Rutherford are kissing in one of those universes? This is the answer that I need.
And we all know the answer to that. So the one last point I'm going to make is, and I'm getting a little, this is sort of weird, but I wrote down friendship. We have, you know, this is about friendship at the highest level. If you actually look at it, not only friendship, mature friendships over time. You have the emerging friendship of Boimler and Mariner, you know, we've watched that develop and blossom. What a great thing it is. And then you've had this sort of the friendship that Garrick wants so bad at such a unique high level to make it more than a friendship. But the one that really got me is to Paul and Curzon. That friendship, that discussion they had over the table about her really concerned about his salt content. And then I thought about this. It's like, Scott and I are here because of a friendship we forged through, you know, I'm going to go into your commercial again, but it's true, on our Discord. And these are real things that happen out of talking about Star Trek. And we are people who have actually experienced that. And Scott will, you know, if he's typing, he'll nod and say yes. I mean, out of the clear blue, we just sort of came across it, and this episode is just beautiful. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you all for your friendship, and you know, the always eloquent John Arminio is going to follow up with something really educational.
I don't know, Paul, because that was like really heartfelt and now emotional, and now John has to come and overcome that.
Well, it's real, and I can't thank you all enough, and encourage everybody to follow the Discord path and join us, and you know, these deep dives into Trek and what they mean, and become better humans. So appreciate you all.
Oh,
See you in a bit.
Thank you so much. You are so appreciated, Paul. Till next time.
Paul. Bye,
I'll jump
Scott.
over to Scott here. Scott, any follow-up comment? Nope. Good. All right. Then we will see you again next week, I hope, my friend. Take care. Have a great night. See you next time. All right. Let's jump over to John Arminio, because I'm sure that you have some mind-blowing comment tonight.
Well, I have to say, Paul really did... I was going to talk about friendship as well, because that was really what struck me about this episode, and what just has really stuck with me over the course of Lower Decks, because I am going to be recording a podcast about the show later in the week, so I've been rewatching some episodes. And in the second episode, Shades of Green, they're on this post-scarcity planet, and people are waiting in line at the Museum of Friendship, right? And I feel like that's something that, like, if you made a documentary about Lower Decks, you could call it like Museum of Friendship. And I feel like with this episode, how the bonds between these characters transcend universes and dimensions, and that they're able to, be together and overcome differences even throughout, like, the prevarications of multiversal travel or space-time dimensions or time dilation. And I think that's what's wonderful about Star Trek. And I think that what's remarkable about Lower Decks is that in this 22-minute episode, we somehow get better character development than we did when, like, Deep Space Nine took like 3 or 4 ventures into the mirror universe, and that felt like plotting and underdeveloped in hour-long episodes.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
Love that Kira headband though. Looks so great.
yeah. I mean, the looks in the mirror universe are fire, but the writing, I don't know. And I think the show is smart enough to show, because I think Lower Decks is such a great conversation with fans, that with Captain Boimler's character, it's able to show like fan exhaustion with those tropes, and with the way that a lot of franchise storytelling is sort of falling back on easy shortcuts to like a fan service, and the fact that Lower Decks is then able to pivot to having Curzon Dax and T'Pol and Garrick and Bashir together and kissing and having all these things together, and none of it feels like we're being shortchanged. And it all feels like developed and earned, I think, is just a remarkable testament to like animation as a storytelling device, how it can just so effectively and efficiently communicate these emotional beats, but also the writing and acting of the series. Like, what other medium could you have Alfie Woodard and Jolene reprise these roles from 25 years ago and have it work? It's a real testament to the strength of Star Trek as a franchise and the bonds that it can create between the characters and between its fans.
See, that's just the thing. There are projects that come along, Star Trek or not, sometimes within the Trek universe, and I go like, okay, this just looks like a thing where somebody wanted to get out all the action figures and put them together. Yeah. And I'm glad you got a chance to do that, but it doesn't really serve me in the audience who wants a story and characters that I really feel connected to and moved by dramatically or whatever. But they did that. They got out all the action figures, but they made it work. And in that half hour, they drove home morals, meanings, messages. They told a great story. They had great comedy. Like they just kind of nailed that all. And like you said, it really points to the high quality, the high level of production, the thought put into it, and the quality of writing. So yeah, bravo. Anything else, John, here real quick before we do our mid-show break?
It just made me wish that we could have had a live-action Bashir and Garrick kissing a bunch.
There's still time. There's still so much time. The actors are alive and working.
We could have a reaffirmation of vows.
Yes.
Like a second honeymoon for Bashir and Garrick, like a retirement sojourn to Ryza.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God, yes.
Let's do it.
Yes.
John Arminio is available to script it at any time.
There you go. All right, John, take care. Thank you so much. I love these great comments here. I mean, let's see, Carlos. So T'Pol can now be in Strange New Worlds and undo the ending of Enterprise. Interesting. Mike Richards says, I
He's gonna
love
be
the
married
line.
to Trip. They have a child. Everything is okay.
Right. Because Mike says, I love the line that T'Pol was married to Trip for decades.
Correct.
So, right. So, a lot of stuff there to unpack. But hey, real quick before we go to our next callers, and we have a great lineup coming up. So we got Alan, Spencer, JD, Cherie, Jim. We're going to get to all of you tonight. Let us just remind people. I mean, Paul Harveth said it so well. But look, if you join our Patreon, patreon.com/missionlog, you then get into our Discord. And our Discord is the heart and soul of Mission Log and all of these Roddenberry podcasts, where you get to hang out and chat and legit make friends. Just hang out, chat with our friends all the time. So one of the parts of that is what's happening on our live channels. Ashley, what's a little taste of what's happening in the live channels?
The much beloved international chat, where I will say not only are nice international friends there, but you can plan your nice trip to see nice international friends.
See, right?
We want to graduate this to like a passport, interplanetary kind of thing.
Love it.
Twilight Zone, which it's just part of your required education, especially if you're a Star Trek fan, to know Twilight Zone. Get over there, enjoy the good. And the less good is one of the best things about Twilight Zone. We run the gamut. Mission Log After Dark, already spoken about, already nodded to by our beloved Paul. Honestly, all the After Dark channels are a real ding-dang tree over on the Discord.
Pretty great. And then, of course, on Fridays, the Zocalo, they're hanging out talking about Babylon 5. If you want to hang out with Paul specifically, well, you can do that in Kon-Tiki Wednesday nights at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, because that's just, it's a hang. And it was originally designed to bring people together if they're going to meet in real life, like at conventions and meetups, but it really has just become this weekly hang. So go hang out with Paul and everybody there. And then Battlestar Galactica, Monday nights. Mark has been hosting those 6 o'clock Pacific, so it's kind of the lead-in to Mission Log Live, and he's going through all of the Battlestar Galactica, every series, every spinoff, everything. So, Ashley, what's that address one more time if people want to join us at Discord?
Oh, I mean, if you don't already know, but I will take pity on you. Patreon.com/missionlog. You know how to spell Mission Log. You're here.
There you go. Very good. All right. Let's get back to our callers and let us welcome Alan. Alan, how's it going tonight?
Doing pretty good, guys. It's good to see you. It's a crazy night in the green room. So yeah,
it really is.
So yeah,
Alan was my welcoming committee.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, coming out of the Patreon break, I'll do the Paul Harveth bit and say that I don't know if he's still around, but I saw that our new member Miles was in the YouTube chat earlier. Welcome, Miles.
Yeah, welcome, Miles. Right on. Yeah, Miles hit me up on Blue Sky and said I'm going to go join Patreon. So glad you made it over to Discord. Great. What what is on your mind about this episode? There's a lot going on.
There's a lot. Help! It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I obviously big fan. Loved the episode. I feel a little bit of vindication because at the start of the season I was, wait a minute, we're missing a duplicate. Where's William Boimler?
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
It's not exactly what I had in mind when I made that prediction. I was honestly expecting him to be responsible for all of this stuff because the last time we saw him, he was fresh out of a tube and cackling like a madman. But, maybe that's where plans change.
I like the little bit of exposition, like the unnamed organization that faked my death.
Yep.
And yeah, very nice.
Got 31 problems, but that ain't one.
Exactly.
We'll know in about 41 days or so.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, if they tie that in, I'd be very impressed.
Oh, man.
That would
be pretty awesome.
That's what we're getting our lower deckers in real life, our 3D lower deckers in.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I'll say this too. If this and that show are part of this continuing reinvention of 31 away from being this super, professional, hands in every cookie jar. We're the puppet masters. We're pulling the strings. Section 31 to a bunch of goofy screw ups. I'm all for that.
Honestly, same.
Yeah, for real.
Yep. Speaking of goofy screw ups, you know what happens when you give Harry Kim a couple of pins?
What?
He's on a multiverse explosion.
I was gonna be like, nothing. He never gets more than a couple.
He's a superstar, but he didn't get far.
Oh,
my God.
Shout out to Garrett. Well done. You really could get the differentiation between the different Harry Kims, all the subtle little vocal tricks that he played. Very well done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Big shout out also to our friend Fred, who did a wonderful job being a completely unhinged Curzon Dax.
Yeah.
Which also kind of redeems that character for me too.
Yeah. Oh, so true. Yep.
But yeah, I guess I don't want to take up too much time because I know it's a big queue going tonight. It's a queue continuum.
It's a big queue, not just like a really big Spock.
Exactly.
I love that. Love that call out. In the episode
that was awesome too.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that I love the messaging of this episode. I have a friend who has frankly been a little bit down on this season, but he only watches Lower Decks, and so he's sort of like, oh well, where are the characters that I love? And I'm like, and I was like, yeah, I can see that. Especially in the last couple of weeks, it has been sort of like, here's a story based on those secondary characters. Here's a story with all the bells and whistles for the longtime Trek fans who are seeing things that they've sort of been talking about for years. Harry Kim gets promoted, Garrick and Bashir, all of these things. But it really did do a very good job of bringing it back to the message of this is a show about our friends and their relationships and the fact that they can, cross realities and still be a thing that, that stands the test of time, to quote Mission Log. And so, it really puts me in a very good mood that we're going to get a finale that is all about this show, all about these characters, and one that is going to be worthy of the 5 seasons that we got. Maybe we can still get another. I'm not going to push my luck, though.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But well said. Thanks so much, Alan. Yes. And I guess we'll find out next week.
Once more unto the breach.
All right, take care, friend.
Once more. Bye.
Bye. All right, let's welcome Spencer over. How's it going?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you tonight?
This is like only my second time here. This is
I know.
And I made it before the finale. The last time I was here was the finale of Discovery, and that was my first time on. So
oh my
made
gosh,
it before the finale of this. I figured it was a good time to do it.
You've been, kind of semi-regular in the Discord chat, so we can forgive.
And
glad to have
the Vegas parties, which is also a nice plus.
Nice
of the
perk.
Discord. Yep.
Yeah.
Good plug.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah. What is on your mind?
So a couple of interesting, funny, and weird points or crossovers. Kirk and Spock in the Kelvin universe, the actual Prime Spock, tells Kirk and Spock the same thing.
Oh, right.
Your friendship will transcend multiple universes, because he felt the same thing with his Kirk. And so that kind of I thought that was a really interesting callback to that.
Yeah.
And then the callback recently, speaking of Discovery, the callback recently to one of the finales of Discovery was people don't always explore the same way. Remember the extra galactic?
Yeah. The 10C. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, how they were originally thought to be a threat. And the same thing with this crew. They were thought to be a threat, but they were just exploring a different way. So I thought that was actually really interesting. But
that's well said. By the way, as you mentioned, the 2009 or the J.J. Abrams Trek films, it's so funny that popped in my head for a moment as I was rewatching the episode this afternoon. And when Lily says that about transcending, friendship transcending the universes, maybe I was just feeling particularly, pugnacious about the J.J. Abrams films, but I thought, I remember it was either Abrams or Orsi or somebody sort of saying in an interview, like, we made these characters this way and we told these stories because we wanted to show that these characters were the same from universe to universe. And I just thought, but I just watched a cartoon where they got that across better. So it's not to say that I like a lot of what those films have, but I really liked this.
No, okay, John, say one nice thing about the Kelvin.
Okay. Well, I think the casting is fantastic.
It's pretty amazing how genuine they made it feel in Lower Decks.
Yes.
Well
yeah.
And you can tell this Boimler, even though he's a clone, misses.
Boimler?
That
was a whip. I'm so sorry.
That sounds like a Clamato based
drink. Bad. I'm really sorry about that.
Can I get the Cloimler, please?
Yeah.
You can tell the way, because it's interesting. This was the other thing I actually kind of wanted to bring up. Although I do have a funny bit, I want to ask you guys a question before I go. Sure. The funny bit I thought was interesting, or the interesting thing here I thought was that this clone Boimler got everything that the other Boimler ever wanted, and was utterly bored and hated it.
Yeah.
And so when he gets Mariner, like, you can see the friendship like right away. I mean, they played it so warmly.
Yeah.
And that's what made me think like the whole thing with Kirk as well. Because if you go back to An Embarrassment of Dupplers, when they're on Starbase 25 and and I looked that up, I couldn't remember that off the top of my head.
Never admit
when they go back to Starbase 25 and they don't make the party, but they're in the bar, they make the reference again to Kirk and Spock.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting now that this is the second time that's kind of like, that the friendship that transcends everything. Even though Mariner's really different, this clone is kind of different than the other Boimler. It just seems to kind of all work out. And I'm dreading the end of this season, because it's just going to be, it's one of my favorite shows. And I was really upset when one of my other favorite cartoons disappeared. And now it's like, I'm getting this again. So it's like 15 years separation. But I have one question before I go.
Yeah.
I thought they missed out on a huge opportunity with different universe people, the same character, different universes. Even though Harry had the second pip, they should have had another Harry playing a different instrument.
So like bassoon Harry?
Exactly. What instrument would it be? So I thought bassoon or oboe, but flugelhorn. I don't know. Ashley, what do you think?
As a classically trained flautist, I have to simply say a flute or a piccolo. Oboe, unallowed, rude. The low-hanging fruit is to have it be a trombone, and then have a joke about how he's not the tromboner that William Riker
is. or something happens and wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, that's all they were missing.
I did like, though, that he was playing clarinet kind of throughout as a little bit of, it was like a nice little interlude in the back while everything was going on. It was kind of funny, but anyway.
So we do have some other comments here. Earl says harmonium Harry. In the chat, Carlos says tuba Harry. Dave Takeshi says trumpet. But Brandon coming in with the in-universe reference, thrash flute Harry.
Oh, yes.
That's, of course. How do we miss that?
Nice.
All right. Spencer,
all right,
take care. We got a few more callers to talk to tonight. We'll see you next time, I hope,
easy,
or
guys.
soon enough.
Yep.
Be good. All right. Let's see here. We got JD. JD, what's up?
Okay,
Hey.
I fixed it.
All right. How's it going?
I see we're having similar problems in this void.
Yeah, I'm not technologically inclined, so
Same.
my smartphone is the difference between me and a Luddite.
Well, you made it. We're glad to see. Yeah.
Yeah, well, firstly, I have to get this out of the way. A couple weeks ago, I called in to commemorate my 30 years since I became a Star Trek fan because of Star Trek Generations. What I neglected to mention was that the same guy that I went to go see Generations with,
yeah,
we are still best friends.
Yes.
And I just, after this episode of Lower Decks, he's a couple of episodes behind. He's been pretty busy, but after this episode of Lower Decks, I texted him and I said, stay off the internet until you can watch this episode. I didn't want anything spoiled. And he said, he texted me back. He's like, but I'm a couple episodes behind. And I said, honestly, aside of the rifts in the universe and Boimler's beard, there's not a lot of continuity that you have to worry about. I was like, watch this episode and then go back and catch up, because I'm like, all I could think was between Lily Sloan and Curzon Dax and T'Pol and Garrick and Bashir, I'm like, I do not want any of these cameos spoiled for him, because while I was going through Prodigy season 2, I was a few episodes ahead of him, and I said, stay off the internet because I didn't want Wesley Crusher spoiled for him. Mm-hmm. So,
right.
So yeah, we are still good friends. I went to go see Star Trek 2009 with him, so we're both mutually big nerds.
There you go. See, your friendship transcends multiple movies and TV series.
Exactly.
It's beautiful to hear.
Lived in the same state in 25 years, but we've always maintained our. Sometimes it feels like we're in a different universe, so I can't relate.
Said. Well, JD, thank you as always for calling in. We got a few more calls to get to tonight before we say goodnight.
Can I say one thing?
Please say one thing.
What I really wanted to see, and what I'm still hoping we will see.
Yeah.
One, I was kind of surprised nothing from the Kelvin universe was there, but that's okay. I want to learn more about Lily Sloan and her crew and the Beagle. I really love all of that. I was really gratified by all of that. But if we could see one more Harry Kim from the Picard timeline where he's like a commander, I think that would be phenomenal.
I think everyone wants to see that.
There's a whole
awesome. Garrett Wang deserves to be a commander at some point.
Okay, let's tone it down there. But no, I love what you're saying, and honestly, the way that this multiverse has been written, this is the multiverse that I want to see and hear more of these stories from.
Same.
So yeah,
and any stories they want to do set in this universe with these crews, yes, please.
All right.
I'll say good night, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity.
Take care, JD. We'll see you next time.
Live long and prosper.
Take care. Interrupting the show, we do have an additional caller that got added to the queue. His name is Mike, and may or may not have some comments about this week's Lower Decks. Mike, what's on your mind? What did you think?
Listen, I thought this week of Lower Decks was real good.
Yeah.
I think next week is really good too. I also want to see more Lily Sloan. And yes! I was writing all that stuff down that you wanted to see. We only have one more episode, and I made it last year. So you're not going to. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm not going to say that. You're going to. Everybody will be.
Come on.
I really wanted to end the series in a way that's very specific, and I do believe I did it with the finale, and you will have to tell me if you agree when you watch this in a couple days.
Well, we will. We most certainly will. I got a quick question for you, though. All right, we were talking about this earlier in the show. We got all these great cameos, all this stuff to link these characters together. Do you have the Eagle Moss ring ship? Dude, I have that in my office because I love that thing.
I have had this in the background of interviews for a year. No one's going to be in the episode this week. Just so happy that I knew it was coming. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. All right, look, a little bittersweet here because maybe you heard us speculating earlier. I'm not sure what the timeline was, writing, developing this episode, figuring out the cameos, etc., versus when you knew that season 5 is going to be the wrap up here for Lower Decks. So was this just like throw everything at the wall, let's do it, let's go for broke?
So I had been told way early, like a year in advance, that this was going to be the last season. Mm-hmm. But then there were some people being like, well, hold on, it might not be. Mm-hmm. So I was like Schrodinger's showrunner, like, and I was writing this. I just decided either way, I'm going to write this season partially the way I wanted to write it, and then accelerate some stuff, do some stuff a little earlier than I would have. And then I had been really trying for years to figure out, how do I get Brent and Jolene into the show in a way that makes sense? Mm-hmm. And figuring out, I had not done fissures, like quantum fissures, the whole run, because I had come from doing it for years on Rick and Morty, and I didn't want to do that, but then I was like, well, hold on a second, maybe that's a offer and not, and not a problem. Maybe I can say something about what Star Trek can do with multiversal stories, and I can also get Purple Data, and I can get, to Paul, who's been married to Trip Tucker for, decades.
Yeah.
And maybe I can get Lily Sloan, I can get Alfre Woodard. And I actually had a list of people that I wanted in this episode, because the point of this episode was like, it's just full to the brim with, it had to be funny. It had to be epic. This is one of our few episodes that doesn't have a B story, because I just needed all that time. And then I wanted it to have people that I've been wanting to work with forever, like Garrett, you know what I mean? Like I hadn't been able to work with Garrett because of the Voyager nature of Prodigy,
sure. Right.
And so like I had made him sort of off limits for myself for a really long time in case he was going to show up there. And like, this episode was like kind of me being like Data showing up was me being like, this is for me. You know what I mean? And this episode was like, oh, you guys like it in Lower Decks when we have a little fun with Legacy Cast? What if I make you smoke the whole pack? You know what I mean?
Mike has been trolling me with this episode since like New York Comic Con, being like, episode 9, like you gotta talk to me after episode 9. And thank you so much for canonizing every single couple that I've been waiting for my entire life.
Except for one.
There's still one more episode left.
Yeah.
We're still
one more episode. I don't think we couple anybody up in that. Well, we have fun in the finale.
Excellent.
The finales are always about the Cerritos. Like if you go back, like the Cerritos as a character, like the Enterprise as a character, they live and work on a ship that has a woman's voice. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I like in the finales doing stories about the Cerritos as a character and the crew within it as a character, like bringing it all together. So I'm really excited for you guys to see it.
Nice. Well, hey, we've got time for just a couple of more comments and callers. Try to get out of here on time, but Mike, hang tight, because I want to see if Cherie has got any comments or questions, maybe directly for you. You never know. Cherie, what's up tonight?
She's coming.
So I've been freaking out because like I literally like write down questions for like if I ever meet this person, this is the question I'm going to ask, and I can't find it.
No,
and I can't remember.
Oh no!
Perfect.
Yep. You're off the hook this time. Yeah.
I'm so mad. I'm just going to remember it like the second that you disappear. So bad.
Just blue sky it at me. I love that blue sky. That's where all my friends are now.
I will do that.
Well, sure.
But thank you for everything.
Hey, thank
you for Jolene.
Oh my gosh, Jolene. Jolene, who came in and I was like freaking out. Like I get starstruck once a season, and like Jolene coming in and just being like so cool and funny. There are outtakes, like because she loved being, with that cast. She loved that cast on Enterprise, and like she gave us outtakes. That one line about like, oh, was Archer a big Starfleet nerd? She started doing outtakes about Bakula because she loves Bakula, and like we have a whole bunch of them where she's so cute and funny, and like just such a like also doesn't look like time affects her at all, which was fascinating. Like I felt like I was like meeting a hologram or something. But
well, she's a Vulcan.
She's such a nice person, and she had such a good sense of humor, and like, that was such a dream for me to get to do.
We got 3 words. We got 3 words from Earl in the Earl Green Room: Blu-ray extras.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm not pestering too. We did get some of the legacy cast to do some Blu-ray extras with us, but like I already feel like I'm asking them so much. I literally wrote personal letters to every single cast member of this episode to like send them the script, explain why it was important, and like I just like to swoop in and take up some of their time and then leave them alone, respect their time.
I did think of a question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
It's not the question. I'll probably remember that later. But I was wondering for this episode, did Jolene get any input about what her character is wearing? Because I thought that was a super cute outfit.
I actually don't. We did have her drawn. We had her designed. We have kind of a look of Vulcans in the show, especially from Wage Douche. And that was based on Enterprise Vulcans. I thought Enterprise did a good job with Vulcans in a lot of ways, just attitudinally. I didn't love all the stories, but like I loved how many Vulcans we got on that show, and I loved T'Pol on that show. So we were definitely channeling that vibe for the Vulcan ship, because when we were making that episode, we realized how little time we'd spent on Vulcan ships with Vulcan crews. Like I was actually shocked because in my head, I think we all kind of like expand and generate like things you felt like you've seen, and then you go back and you're like, oh, that was implied, or that was so brief.
There was only one or 2 episodes.
Yeah. Crazy. So yeah, we were kind of referencing, we wanted it to look a little bit like the color of the outfit that she was in on Enterprise, but then kind of de-catsuit it, de-sexualize it a little bit so that it was like,
Yes, Mike, yes.
I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
This outfit is also so cosplayable. Like, it's going to be all over Comic-Con next year.
Right.
Well, plus we hinted that she was coming earlier in the season with that scene in the decontamination bay of Starbase 80. So like, I was laughing at that, knowing that she was coming later in the season, and that she wasn't all gelled up, that she's just a responsible bridge officer doing her Vulcan stuff. And oh man, that moment where she's pulling Dax and all the Dax memories out with the Katra, like I literally called John Van Sitters to be like, this is what I'm doing. I've researched it a bunch, but you're the last person I'm going to let tell me I can't, because I think you could do it. And he was like, go for it. That sounds like, you know what I mean? Like that.
Oh, that's great.
Having T'Pol do that, I thought was awesome. And I have I wish I could do an entire show about, her finding a new host and then probably ending up with the Dax we know,
Hey, you could one day. Who knows?
Last time I checked, you have an in at Roddenberry. Maybe tell those guys.
Look, if there was somebody here who had some connection to production with Star Trek in any meaningful way, believe me, I'd make a connection for you.
I'll greenlight it right now. I'll do it with all the authority I don't have.
We'll talk to some people. And hey, we are up against the top of the hour here. Jim joining us. Jim, any comment here to wrap up our time talking about Fissure Quest tonight?
I think everything has pretty much been covered.
All right. Hey, look at that. We all did our jobs. All right. Mike, any final comment about the episode? Anything that we should be looking forward to next week as your audience?
Yeah. This is a tough week for me, like I'm excited for you guys to see it. I've been working on Lower Decks for 6 years. When my wife found out that, we weren't going to get to do more, she literally cried, because like we're pals with not only everybody making the show and the cast, but also like weirdly with the characters. Like we've been living with like Tendi and Mariner and Boimler and everybody came out of my brain like while loving Star Trek, and like it's going to be really weird to air the last episode, but like I've been living with it for so long that I'm also just like ridiculously proud of what we accomplished. And
Yes.
I think like nobody's favorite Star Trek is the one they watched when it aired. It's the one they watch over and over and over again, you know? And like really what we're giving up right now is that feeling of, oh, there's a new Star Trek this week, and then getting to experience it for the first time, which is obviously cool. But like, I didn't get to experience that with TOS or half of TNG, you know what I mean? And I couldn't even, I had to watch Enterprise after it aired because they didn't have DVDs and or TV when I was in college where I was at. So like, you know, there's always chance for it to find more audience. There's chance for these characters to live on. I hope one day I get to do more of it. But that being said, I love this whole season. I love episode 9. It is such a geek fest of just all this stuff we love, but new stuff too, with the quantum realities and that great stuff from Alfrey about, you know, finding out human capacity and what you can be through the multiverse, and Boimler trusting himself across the I love all that stuff. I love the ship designs. I love Garrett's performance. He's so funny. So funny. Kim. Yeah, like, but yeah, I'm really proud of this episode, and the finale is really different. The finale is 3/4 amazing, big, high stakes Star Trek teamwork love letter, and then the last quarter is like kind of an emotional goodbye and a thank you to everybody. So like I think everybody's going to be surprised, and I think they're going to like it, and I couldn't have been prouder to get to do this, you know, and like be happy with what we made. And even the episodes people don't like, in 5 years, it'll be their favorites. So like, I don't know, it's been really, really cool. And I hope I get to make more, but even if I don't, like we had an amazing run of a thing nobody asked for, and we did it exactly the way we wanted to do. And when in life do you get to do that? You know what I mean? Like it was very cool.
Well, you're getting a lot of love in the chat with Paul saying, thank you, Mike, from all our hearts. Other Paul saying, thank you for sharing your show with us. Alan saying, thanks, Mike. This has been my Star Trek for this generation.
Oh, thank you.
Mike saying,
hell yes.
Right. Mike
Hell
Richards
yes.
saying, best Trek of the modern era, in my humble opinion. And Spencer saying, absolutely my favorite new Trek. So, yeah. And Carlos saying, I better not cry. So
I think you guys might cry in the finale.
Yeah.
And also to everybody who says that Garrett couldn't have hidden in that drawer or that little cabinet in 509 because he had he doesn't like small spaces.
Yeah.
You visually tell me how to hide him from some axolotl creatures in the 2 seconds I had. All right. Sorry.
That character might not be claustrophobic either.
See that exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
and that.
Yeah. Well, with that, Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live by the inexpungible Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcasts. If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/Mission Log. I'm looking at you, Mike. Thanks again to my guest, co-host tonight, Ashley. Thanks to everyone who joined us live or later. We look forward to seeing you all next week for the very last Lower Decks of the season. Until then, folks.
Woo.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.